7 minutes in heaven. I feel like today's Rachel would fuck up 7 minutes in heaven. She'd be the star of that show.
Only if, like, I'm into you. There was nobody in high school that I was into. I had boyfriends, but then they were very short-lived and I'd break up with them within like very short amount of time. I mean, even in my 20s, I broke up with somebody because of their last name.
No. What was her last name?
Spark and Ball.
Come again. Spark and what?
Spark and Ball. I was like, it's never gonna work. My
Rachel Spark and Balls.
Rachel Sparkle Balls. Like,
Rachel Sparkle Balls.
It will never. I was like, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity,
he was really
Rach.
into anal, and I was like,
oh, Jesus.
I did not want to.
Okay, so it was the last name that was the
that was a hard no for me at that time. I was like, absolutely not.
Hey, guys, we're going to talk about your inner child and also anal. Welcome to Mystic Mamas.
No.
His balls were not sparkly enough.
But it does, this is part of what we're talking about, right? Because not so much inner child, but like things from our past that shape who we are and how we have these experiences.
Yep.
And we have growth.
We have growth.
That's what you need.
Let's welcome everybody, shall we?
We need to center this podcast back into what are we talking about today? Because this is a very serious topic.
It is, and we're going deep.
The first thing I put down in my notes is we are not medical professionals or mental health experts.
But you know what we do know about. You could have just not said that part and I wouldn't have gone down this road.
You know what though? But I've been opening my brain up to these memories to prep for this episode, and now that's what came in.
I love it. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Shall we welcome them?
Just gonna pull up my notes.
I'm gonna welcome everybody by myself.
Don't do
Welcome to One Side Mystic Mama. Rachel's still thinking about anal.
Ugh, I'm not. I have moved the fuck on. All right. Welcome to Two Mystic Mamas.
I mean, our tagline is "It's fucking funny." So,
not it's fucking anal.
Don't do this to me, Rach.
This is going to turn into an episode where you can drink your way through the episode, and by the end, you will be shit-canned.
Shit-canned, she said.
You will be a soup sandwich.
You'll be a soup sandwich that's shit-canned. She heard it here first.
Literally, my first note is, we are not doctors or mental health professionals.
Clearly.
We're talking about inner child work today. So this is also one of those things that I feel like this comes with a little bit of a warning, right? Like discretion is advised.
I want to say this too. Your inner child is not waiting for you to heal her. She's waiting for you to choose her. And I think there is an important distinction because there is a part to this. You cannot go back in time. You cannot change the imprint that you received as a young child, good or bad. That inner child, for most people that experience some sort of trauma that they're holding on to, needed protection. You can't go back and offer that. So there's a part of it that you can't heal necessarily, but you can choose her and reaffirm her and hold her and love her.
Yeah, we'll talk through some of these exercises that you can do. And the reason that we are choosing this topic, it's talked about a lot. And, you'll find a lot of mental health experts or...
Not us, by the way.
Not us. That, we're talking about lived experiences. So throughout this episode, you're going to hear, well, specifically for me, because I prepared a lot to talk about it through my lived experiences and what I am doing now as a 40-year-old, 43-year-old woman navigating doing some inner child work to have that growth, to have the healing. I understand what you were saying about like, she's not looking to be healed. She's looking to be acknowledged. Through acknowledgement, there can be healing. There can be that, because I grew up in a very safe environment. I did have a lot of safe space. My parents were great role models. They're solid humans all around, not without their own little quirks and idiosyncrasies and things like that. But I grew up primarily in a very safe family. I did not come from a broken family. I didn't come from a blended family. But even having said that, I still had and still have inner child work to do, because as parents, as we all know, and even if you aren't an active parent now and you are a product of a union that happened, there are things that can't be controlled that just happen. Life just happens, and that is what imprints us in some way, shape, or form.
I think that's kind of an interesting distinction too, when you were talking about that you're not from a broken or a blended family. Just because you come from a blended family or a broken family that's been divorced doesn't necessarily mean that you have inner child trauma either. There are people who are very like safe space, as you're saying, for their kids, even as they're going through that. And, you know, as somebody who also, my parents did not divorce as I was a child, even though there like were moments where I'm like, oh God, just fucking do it, right? Like, but there's a lot of people that go through that I think have good experiences, because sometimes people are not the best versions of themselves when they're with another person.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Agreed.
So I don't want people to think that like, if they do come from a broken home or a blended home, that there's something wrong with them.
No, it has to be their own lived experiences. Right. Just in prepping for this, though, there is a lot of data that supports that when life events, like large life events like that happen, there can be imprints.
Well, everything leaves an imprint of some sort.
Yeah.
Right.
That, you know, because a lot of times it's one of those things where a lot of inner child, if they're talking about trauma of this case, there can be trauma related to when a divorce happened or a death happened or something that was like those moments and those feelings come up and, you know, re-urge. Since we're at the beginning of this episode, the other thing that I wanted to touch on that I think is a great example and visualization that anybody that is listening has an opportunity to watch are two movies that really touch on what inner child is and what goes into reflecting on the inner child work as an adult. And it's the movies Inside Out. So have you seen both of them?
Yeah, the ones with the feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And so when it came out, I loved it so much for a lot of reasons. I find Disney movies are highly, highly spiritual and extremely well written. And they're not just made for children. I think that they cater to everybody in whatever season of life you're in. And you can view that, and it changes from season to season. But yeah, the emotions, and then you have core memories, and then you have deep core memories, and then you have like just things that happen throughout the day. And then those are the memories that get flushed every night when you go to bed.
Right.
And how the memories, you know, from Inside Out to Inside Out 2, you could see how a memory can be happy and also sad.
Mm-hmm.
And inner child work does not just have to do with trauma either.
Correct.
So that's like a big distinction too. So when I was prepping for this, I was looking at my childhood probably up until I was in middle school. So from kindergarten kind of to middle school. And I was thinking about my safe spaces that I had as a child. And even now, as an adult, when I dream, I go, all over the place in my dreams. I do a lot of astro navigating and jumping, and my home base is always my parents' home.
Interesting.
Always. Not my home, not the life I've created with Jeff. It is always my parents' house. And it's usually like outside on the one side of the house too. And so for me, when I was thinking about safe spaces, and like anytime you're doing inner child work, and mental health therapists talk about this a lot too, is you have to have a safe space to do the work in. Doesn't necessarily, yes, you can seek professional help if that is something you want to do, but you can also do the work yourself. But you have to always create the safe space to do the work in.
I find that really interesting because my obviously lived experience is very different from yours. And my safe space that I go to from my jumping off point is the home I've created now. It is my life with Charlie and with Evie, and the home that we have here in the woods. And, you know, that was something that was important to me as I was going through my healing process and understanding process, was that I can create a safe space for myself, because I can't go back in my memory and have like one particular safe space that I can say that I could go to.
A lot of the inner child work that I am working through, shocker, came from the Catholic Church.
Right.
And when I was in school, at the elementary school I went to, and I've said this before on other podcasts episodes, I don't have a lot of memories from my time at this school.
Right.
Very little, because I have buried them away. And so then I was like, well, why did I bury them away? Like, what exactly? And I started doing this deep dive and examination into this was the first experience I had of asserting myself into the world as Rachel. Because at home with my parents and my brothers, that was always a safe place. I was always accepted for who I was. I was loved. I was cared for. I had all this land. So I was always outside imagining and pretending and playing. And that was always a safe place for me. I was never judged. I have so many memories of being outside, of pretending, of talking to trees, of creating songs. I mean, building forts, playing in water. Like, I just have so many memories. And then when I think about those formative years where I was in elementary school, very, very, very few and far between. And when I started really analyzing it and getting into it, they started to come back. And naturally, when you're doing this work, your senses are really, really important. How do you feel? What do you smell? What do you taste? You know, what is the temperature in the room? Like, again, nothing happened that was like, you know, I wasn't raped in the basement or I wasn't beat up in the courtyard. Nothing happened at the school that was like, ugh. But every day was painful. I was not accepted for who I was. And I know it was because I was too much. I was told that all the time. There's so much control that happens in Catholicism. And, you know, a lot of our teachers and principals were nuns, right? So, like, I was always too much. I talked too much. I was too loud. Honestly, my cup was too fulleth. My fulleth runneth over. You know, the Bible has THs on everything. I don't know how people read the Bible.
I believe it's called the Bibleeth.
The Bibleeth.
I mean, I think there are moments that jog your memory that you don't expect. There was a place that I lived for a very short time that we had a lot of lands like that. And my one friend and I would go out. There were these like giant boulders on the property. And we would find like graffiti signals on them, like signs and symbols and stuff. And like we would always make up stories about it. And those moments were like so awesome, out like creating, right? Mm-hmm. Just like being in that flow with that friend.
Mm-hmm. My brothers and I used to look for dinosaur fossils.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. All the time. We'd be like, we're going to find some dinosaur pose.
I mean, but you've passed that down to your kids, because when we went out to your parents last year,
Yeah.
you and all the kids and your mom and everybody were out looking for creek glass.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and treasures, that the water holds and things like that. Prepping for this episode, it brought back a lot from my elementary years that it's hard. It's hard to go back and think about some of those, because it also, for me, it's a vulnerable place to be. It's not, and it's sad, but it's not sad in the sense that like I can look back and see that little Rachel and acknowledge her, and helping me to unlearn the belief that I indeed was too much.
Right.
And that I had to be silenced because that was what was expected. Right. And even in my immediate family, my grandparents came from wealth. And there is this air about old money where like you don't talk out of turn. You only talk when you're spoken to. You have very high manners.
Yeah. Etiquette. You're supposed to be seen and not heard.
Yeah. And you dim lights when you do that.
Right.
Right. And so I had my light dimmed when I was in school. And then when I'd come home, my mom was awesome. But I also didn't have the vocabulary or the wherewithal to even remotely talk about any of this with my parents and be like, well, school was really hard today because, my light was being dimmed and I want to be creative and vocal and magical. And that's just not really welcomed. The other thing that's not welcomed in Catholicism is curiosity.
Right.
Like you start asking too many fucking questions and that shit gets shot down real fast.
Right.
And I know I'm still that way. I've been able to come full circle and be like, wait. I ask questions because I'm curious. And being curious is how I grow. And getting answers is how I grow. So I'm not going to dim that light anymore. Yeah, it's been healing to unlock those memories and also blend those, maybe sad memories or difficult memories with new feelings that I have and new perspective that I have now since we've been doing this work. So now they're like blended core memory balls with different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blended balls.
As you're sitting here and I'm listening to you and I'm thinking back to my own childhood, right? I similarly have pretty large chunks of things I can't remember. I have specific events that those are attached to, however, that I fully have knowledge of and remember. But I keep going back to the safe space. And this is something that's come up for me recently in this workshop I was doing last week. I didn't have a space necessarily, but I had something that I went back to that was always safe for me. And that was being a musician and creating music. And no matter where I went and what I did, I had this safe space that I could come back to when I was being ridiculed in school. I literally found a report card this week from 1998 to 99. The comment was about me, misses class a lot. And I would miss class because I would go and I would find a place to play my violin and I would hide out and not go to my class. And that was my safe space. Mm-hmm. And throughout the years, being a musician, there have been times where I have been a performer. I've been a paid professional musician, recorded in studios, like done all of these wonderful, awesome things and teaching. But what I've realized most recently is that it's so sacred to me that I really, really, really struggle to make it a business, to make it something that I have to do for work. And which is why I think I go to it and I come back and I go to it and I come back and I don't ever stay there, because I thought my whole life I was just going to be a musician. Mm-hmm. Like that was my life's plan. I'm going to go to school for music. I'm going to be a musician my whole life. And I never wanted anything else for myself, honestly. And it's almost like a sigh of relief for me to understand now why I have kept coming back to it and then like shying away from it for, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good to know that, because now I feel like I can make choices out of intention rather than just whatever.
Right.
However,
right.
I was making choices before. But it's safe. It's safe for me to create music. I don't always necessarily want to share that though.
Yeah, I can totally understand that too, because one of the things that I, from a young age, have done, and it's kind of like it's kind of like my thing, but I twirl my hair. I twirled my hair from the time that I can remember. Like, I don't remember a time that I didn't twirl my hair. I used to get in trouble for it all the time at school. I wasn't hurting anybody. It wasn't distracting. It was to help calm my nervous system. And even now I do it. I mean, you've probably seen me do it.
Not often.
I don't do it but if I'm watching TV or I'm on the couch, I am twirling my hair.
I think it's really interesting when you were talking about needing to speak the words. So I find I think this happens on road trips a lot for whatever reason.
Yes, road trips is such a good environment for this.
Right. And I love to drive. I am a road trip warrior princess. I will drive 15 hours by myself. I love it. But when I'm driving, all of these things, thoughts, feelings come flooding in.
It's a great time to meditate. It's like when you're washing the dishes.
Right.
And you're methodically just like, you're doing something, but your brain is able to be kind of like somewhere else.
Well, and Charlie's such a good listener.
He is a very good listener.
So when I have these feelings, like we'll talk it out and I'm able to get it out. And I'm like, it'll be like a smell or a sign or a memory, or he'll bring something up and I'm like, oh my God, I've not thought about that in so long.
Smells. Oof.
Sometimes this happens, though, probably far too often, that you smell something and it's from your childhood, but you can't pinpoint it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's like right on the edge.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
This brings up something interesting. Something that I read is that you can't heal your inner child while continuously choosing environments that mirror her original wounds. Read that again to yourself slowly.
Yep.
You can't keep choosing the same environment and expecting that you're going to be able to heal.
No.
It's the same thing with people that deal with addiction.
Yes.
You can't keep putting yourself in the same environment.
Yes.
And expect that it's going to be a different result.
Correct. Well, that's the definition of insanity. And, I think for me, that's why I chose to leave the Catholic faith.
Right.
And I think I talk a lot about it, but again, this is my lived experience, and it doesn't need to be everyone's lived experience. I have friends who became Catholics as adults and had very different experiences and love it. And I love that for them. But as a child, it's very restrictive.
Right. I mean, my very limited interaction with the Catholic Church, I'm like,
no, it was
not for me.
It's funny you should say about report cards. I know I talked about it on a podcast sometime in season 2 about how therapeutic it was to go through the shit that my mom saved and just let it go, because I'm like, why the fuck did you save all this stuff? And I saved the report cards, and a lot of the comments from my teachers reiterate the fact that Rachel's too much. Rachel's too talkative. Rachel is too expressive. Rachel is, and it's like,
Yeah.
And part of me, at some point, we'll have a ritual where I burn those things, because those are just beliefs that the people who said that to me probably most likely were also told. Right? Because a lot of our traumas or our inner child work that we do is a reflection of stuff that we haven't healed.
Well, right. And it shows up in real life when we are afraid, or we shut down, or we become people pleasers, or we shrink ourselves, or lists upon lists upon lists of the ways that we change because of that. But I think the big reminder for me is that that inner child has adapted. And I've grown and adapted into the person that I am today because of those experiences that I have, right? They've shaped me, whether I wanted them to or not. And I think that's a really important takeaway, is that if you have adapted to, let's say somebody is like afraid to love or afraid to be in a relationship or something like that, and they have fortified walls, right? They're not a bad person.
Mm-mm.
They've just adapted to their environment, their experiences that they've had previously, and they can choose how they want to proceed forward.
Mm-hmm.
We're always a choice. And while we can't go back and change what has happened to us, we can change and transmute what we're going to do next.
Right. And we can blend.
Right.
Because those memories, that's the thing about when you do inner child work and you acknowledge your younger self and you hug them and love them and you see them through on the other side, you change the memory. So the next time you revisit it, it's like, oh, yeah.
I remember one of the first things, not first things, but one of the things Charlie and I bonded over when we both realized we have this same experience when we were younger. I used to spill my drink all of the time at the dinner table. And I would knock it over and I would spill it and I would get screamed at, right? Charlie had the exact same experience. He's like, every time I sat down, I spilled my drink. And it was just like the smallest thing that we like bonded over. And we were like, God, I was the same way. So like, clearly if something spills in our house, no one's getting mad. But like,
yeah.
But it's interesting that you can have those shared experiences with the people in your life if you're willing to open up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's an opportunity for you to grow into bond with your loved ones.
Yes. Yep. And if you want, listeners, you're going to have to go back and watch this on Patreon, but you can get workbooks to help you do this. Now, this is a book that's all about shadow work, which inner child work is part of your shadow work. But there's a whole chapter on the inner child within this book. And I just wanted to briefly go through it. This book I got at Barnes & Noble. It's a workbook to explore your hidden self by Stephanie Kirby. So we'll tag her. But some of the things that you can go through, it has a little explanation about it. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So you can draw or write, a few pictures as a child. I had a couple that I have up in my mirror in my bathroom. So I see my little self every day. And then these are like, what are 5 keywords you'd use to label your family's household growing up? What are 5 keywords you would use to label your childhood in general? What do these keywords reveal to you? Is this what you would have expected, or are the words you chose surprising in any way? So it just like really walks you through how you can work on your inner child, take your power back. This is like towards the end, and it walks you through again. It's like a visualization where you can draw or write down what comes up, and then it summarizes like the chapter of doing this particular work. When was the last time you played?
That's so important. And I would say that those questions, asking yourself those questions is amazing, but also those are great questions to ask your kids, like as a check-in. Like, what are 5 words that you would use to explain our family or your childhood?
Yes. Yes.
That's going to be so telling.
So telling.
Yeah.
This says set aside 10 to 20 minutes per day to play for 10 days. This can be dancing, jumping on a trampoline, singing loudly in the shower or car, pressing every button on the elevator, playing Ding Dong Ditch. Just don't hurt anyone or yourself. And I think this is also, we get so caught up in being an adult.
It's so stupid.
So stupid. Being a child and what comes up when you entertain that, like even sitting down playing Barbies, with my daughters.
We played Monopoly this week. I haven't played in years. And my one friend and I would stay up all night and we would play Monopoly, and her dad would leave at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
You've talked about this.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we played this week and I was like, oh man, it's so good.
That's good. Yeah. Games are great. That's an easy way. But I think when you really start getting into it, you'll realize that the feelings that come up when you allow yourself to play, those are the same feelings you had as a child when you would play. That's why you chose to go out and play.
Right.
And it's also why brain rot and fucking social media is such a distraction and such an addiction that we're facing now, because kids aren't doing that. And so we have to figure out how to combat that.
Well, I mean, now that we're talking about this, though, that feeling, I can imagine, harness what it's like for me to go into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also probably part of it, is because it was always my like safe space, my play space, my, I'm here. Like,
yes.
In the water, in the ocean, getting crushed by waves, like bring it on.
I wrote down in my notes about Block Island. That's one of my like sanctuaries. I haven't been back to Block Island in 25 years.
It keeps coming up. We should go.
I know. And it's such fun memories. Like I can remember tastes, smells, sounds, just feeling. I can go right back there. So we're wrapping this up. We're hoping that from this episode, even though it is a vulnerable topic and it can bring up a lot for people, it is of value when you listen to your intuition when the timing is right to do the work.
Yeah. And we're all here to do the work together. And I think that we can probably do a fun ritual out of your book for the Patreon page.
For sure.
So thank you guys for being here with us today. Be sure to go follow our Patreon page. We have all of our video episodes up. And we'll have a guided ritual for you, as well as spells and daily affirmations. And tell your inner child that we love her. Or him.
Or them.
Or them. Or them. all of it.
All of that. So, until next time.
Bye-bye.
See ya.